You said product differentiation is not sustainable differentiation. Rare from a product person and a CTO. So help me understand this one.
Great products have won for the last 15 years. And I think that's what we see. We see that in consumer for sure, but we see that in B2B SaaS, right? If you look at, companies of the 90s and 2000s like PeopleSoft and like Oracle, like the UX is not good, right? But it solves business problems.
Cooper or Bill.com suck.
Yes, good point. But let's Workday also sucks, right? But Workday is much better than PeopleSoft. It's just night and day. And actually Bill.com versus like a non-internet billing system is incredible. It is like earth-shattering, right? So here's a couple of thought experiments. Imagine pre-Stripe to Stripe, right? Like, oh, you want to process credit cards? Cool. It's like $100,000 down payment. It's going to take you 6 months to do through the contractual. You're going to get this shitty form. Compare that to Stripe. Stripe, it's like you sign up on the website. You can use the API immediately. Once you have this amount of traffic, they do a little more KYB on you, blah, 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 you scale. The delta in that in value is like going from 1 value to 90 units of value out of 100. If you go to the Stripe website now and you look at what they've launched on the developer experience, it's awesome, but it's the difference between like 90 and 93. And so I think over the last decade on a lot of product experience, we went because of the cloud, right? Because people moved to things being available everywhere. Because before all the hosted solutions had no incentive to iterate on UX because, it was really hard to migrate to someone else. We've moved to the cloud where it's easier to migrate and test different providers. So there's been a lot of competition on UX. But I think given the current technology trends, AI may change it, but if you just like put that in a box for a bit, a lot of competition has happened in UX, and I'm not seeing UX ideas that are like 10x to where we are today. And so number one, and number two, you can copy UX. And this is really important. And there's a couple companies that are doing this right now. I think the most famous would be Rippling, where like Rippling's building like the next Workday. And they've taken like, oh, this company does HR analytics. We'll like copy 90% of their good features and we'll make an integrated version that works with your employee directory. Oh, you want to do like global billing? Like we'll do like a 90% as good version of global billing, but we'll make it even easier because like we'll deal with all the inter-country thing on our own. And they do that and they're building a suite that basically takes all the vertical products that I've won for verticals, integrate them into a combined experience, and they don't have to innovate on pure UX for any vertical. They just copy the best. Now, they're selling a suite, right? And that's where the value will come from. I think the value won't come from out of this world UX. I think it will come from like a suite of things that is cheaper, like works better together than the highly verticalized products that we've done today.
Can I make a case, an alternative case, which is UX isn't innovated on now as it was before because of the maturation of platform kind of life cycles. Like we are at kind of far into the PC, far into the mobile. And my question is, do enabling technologies like Apple Vision and AI allow us new dimensions of UX that will recreate product differentiation as a sustainable?
Yeah, and I think that's like the open question. I'm talking about the current waves. And so I think startups that are being founded now, because new models, be it like talking and speaking because of things like generative AI, like LLM's ability to deal with like ambiguous human language to get to action, be it like vision, AR, VR, et cetera. Those things may change the game. But I'm putting those in a box because I don't know, right? It's like I'm not like creating a startup somewhere where that's my thesis. I think for the existing startups, what you've got to look at is it probably isn't going to be UX, and there's probably going to be consolidation because we've over verticalized things by going after every like bit of the software with a slightly bit better UX here or there. And I think the value now is going to be from tying it all together. And there's a few companies that are doing that, and I think those are going to be the big winners.
What do you mean tying it all together? Like there's the compound startup like Rippling there.
Yeah.
What do you mean by tying it all together being where the value is?
That's a perfect example. I think you have to ask yourself like who's going to do that to Salesforce, right? Who's going to do that to that software? Because it's been, who lives in Salesforce versus lives in like Gong and a handful of other tools. So that's like another area that's ripe. I think security tooling is the same way.
Are you long or short Salesforce?
Salesforce to me feels like it's increasingly like a database, like a store, and not where the UX happens. But because everyone still has to store the data in Salesforce, it's still like the base thing that everyone buys. But HubSpot, like people are going after them. You know what I mean? And so I just think there's too much market cap. There's too much money to be made there that I think someone's going to figure them out. And so I would say I am bearish on Salesforce's ability to stay number one over the next decade.